All right, Brock and Salk wrapping up a Thursday show, and it's funny, Brock, we've been talking about it really on and off throughout the week. The Hawks are really in a tailspin, right? They lose 5 out of 7 games after the hot start, and yet, at least to both of us, this doesn't feel the same way it did last year. For some people, it does.
Yeah, I'd say the majority probably feel the way they do. They want the hope. They want the positive side. They don't want the Debbie Downer. They don't want what happened last year. So you're probably willing to look at this from a very positive direction, a half glass full rather than empty. John Clayton's on our side. And my point in that, Mike, is the personnel. That you have added some pieces that have been difference makers. You've brought guys in, you found talent where no one else did, and Chris Clemens and Leon Washington and your draft picks, and there's at least some talent there and that's provided some hope that you didn't have a year ago.
For me, it's more about whether or not you're going to show up for the games. Last year, I began assuming that the game was over before it even started. They didn't even show up against Indianapolis, against Minnesota, against Green Bay, against Tampa Bay, against Arizona again. There were so many games they didn't even show up for, Brock. I haven't seen that yet this year. I know the San Francisco game was bad, the Giants game was bad, especially at home, but for the most part, I at least have an inkling of hope when this team shows up. Maybe this Sunday is a good way of looking at it against probably the best team they will face the entire year. But you know what? They showed up against the defending Super Bowl champs, New Orleans. They didn't beat them. They got eventually run out of the building late. But I thought they hung in there for the first half, and they played with some guts and some intensity. You didn't get that last year. That's the difference.
No, and it will be critical. And Chris Clemens today, the sound that you have from yesterday saying, hey, this is playoff mentality. And really these couple weeks, going to Tampa next week doesn't get any easier. So a critical stretch in December. Last year the team fell apart. Coach was fired. This year, really, for Pete Carroll, next 3 weeks, believe, compete, everything that he preaches got to happen.
Hear the entire discussion on the podcast page. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.